Hey everybody, this is Perch. And one of the things that has come up as we talk about 5G, and I did that other video, but it's something a lot of people say. So I'm not calling any one person out if anybody's thinking like, hey, he's talking about me. No. Lots of people mention this. And it's more of a perception issue than anything else. So that's what I really want to talk about, because if enough people keep saying the same thing, we have to start wondering why. Why not everyone is not just independently wrong. There must be some reason why people are jumping to this conclusion. So the basic topic is this. DC, during what was going to be kind of the future state, 5G, other things, they were going to introduce some new characters, do this Age of Apocalypse style storyline that would eventually get, put on the back burner, and the successful elements would keep going, and the main elements would continue forward. It's like, hey, let's see if fans would jump at the idea of having John Kent as the primary Superman. And if so, then we'll keep it going. And if not, then we have an out. Very similar, again, to what companies have been doing for the last 20 years. This is anything terribly new. But one of the stories that got spun out, and this is where, disreputable news sites, I think is the best way to put it, really started to push this narrative of, hey, all those straight white characters that you've been loving, hey, they're all going to go away. They're all going to be diverse now. They're all going to be woke, and you're going to, sorry, nerds, you're not going to get your white guys anymore. That became the story. And if you think I'm exaggerating, if you go to sites like Gizmodo and others, I mean, they had headlines that said stuff like this. They had headlines that, sorry, racist comic fans, comics are diverse now. I mean, it's just like the most obnoxious crap. But anyway, it stuck in a lot of people's minds that DC was doing this, that they were going to get rid of all the straight white heroes and replace them with a multicolored variety of other things. And one of the biggest places that this settled on was Batman. That the idea was we were going to get a black Batman now, and white Batman's going to go away, and we'll have black Batman. And we saw a bit of that in Future State with one of the titles was Jace Fox, and he was the next Batman. Now, we still had the Bruce Batman running around doing his thing as well, as kind of an underground Batman. And at the time, we didn't completely know how quickly DC's main universe would catch up to Future State. And as we've now learned, pretty much immediately, that's what's going on. So you've got Fear State right now happening within Batman, but it's the Magistrate and it's all this other kind of stuff. And they've already launched a new Batman title called I Am Batman. They tried the next Batman, now it's I Am Batman. And that's the Jace Fox version of the character. So I've had a number of people comment to me, and both in emails and comments at videos and other things. It's like, see, look what's happening. They're pushing the straight white Batman to the background. And the challenge with that is the numbers. And when I say the numbers, I'm looking at August right now. And in August, first off, we have DC Comics publishing 66 comics in August. Do you remember again? I'm going to repeat this like a broken record. Remember when everyone was saying that DC was going to go away completely, or Bleeding Cool was doing these articles like, look, they're down to 30 comics a month. They've dramatically cut back on their publishing line. Well, during the New 52 time at DC, there were 52 DC comics. That was kind of the gimmick that they would cancel one, they'd bring another one in, sometimes without much thought. Well, now we're at 66 comics. So, if you're doing the math, that's 14 more than the New 52 time. And 66 comics for DC is a lot. It's too many. Now, for what it's worth, Image is publishing 54 and Marvel's publishing 67. But consider that. You know how much we've talked about Marvel overdoing it? Marvel's publishing one more comic in August than DC. Just one. Just let that sit with you a little bit, huh? Anyway. The point is, I'm looking at this DC list for August, and there are, of the 66 comics, if you tie in all the Harley Quinns and the Catwomans and all the Batman related stuff, 40% of the books are Batman books that DC's producing. Now, if you want to get kind of more specific about it, then no, it's about 20% are pure Batman. But if you expand it to include the Suicide Squad Get Joker and Catwoman and kind of all these Batman spin-off type things, then that's where you get to the higher number. But Of those Batman books, let's say 20% Batman books, right? More than, let's see, 12 Batman books. One of them is Jace Fox. The others are all Bruce Wayne. If there's one thing I think you could say about DC right now is there's a crap ton of Batman. And of the ton of Batman, I mean, this is too much Batman, right? I mean, that's another thing I think many people agree with at this point is that there's just DC is Batman. Of all these Batman titles, it's not just the vast majority; it's all of them but one are featuring white, straight Bruce Wayne. One is featuring the Jace Fox. One title of the 66. So my question is this: why is it that we have the perception, that some people have the perception, that DC is pushing the straight white male character to the background in favor of this diverse new Batman, i.e. Jace Fox? Why do we think that? Because the numbers do not bear that out. I mean, and when I say numbers, this isn't even being nerdy about it. This is literally, there is one title with Jace Fox. It's clearly not one of their primary ones. Because for a while I thought, well, maybe the problem here is that DC's marketing, that book over others. Maybe, it presents a kind of unrealistic picture. You think that they're pushing the Jace Fox Batman because that's what all the DC hype is. But by contrast, DC is doing almost zero hype for that book. If you go to their site and you look at the news and look at what they're putting out, DC is not talking about that book really at all. There's been 2 announcements, period. There's been way more for all these other titles. Put it this way, there's been as much press for Jace Fox Batman as there is for Scooby-Doo and Batman. That the same amount of press. So the Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries has received the same amount of attention as John Ridley, Jace Fox Batman. Again, let that roll around in your mind. It's I don't know. You could do the same thing with Superman. You're like, oh, they're pushing aside for John Kent. Yeah, there is a John Kent Superman, but then there's also Superman 78, Superman the Authority, Superman Red and Blue, Superman versus Lobo. There's and on and on and on, including the Justice League books. Well, let's talk about Wonder Woman, because they're pushing this new diverse Yara Fleur Wonder Woman. Except you have Sensational Wonder Woman featuring Diana, Wonder Woman 777 featuring Diana, 778 featuring Diana, Black and Gold featuring Diana. You do have one title absolutely featuring Wonder Girl, but it's just this stuff. It's still the same stuff, I guess, is my point here. We're not seeing this, diverse flood take over the comic books. There's like one book here, one book there. But again, I'm not saying this to irritate people. I know some people are going to come in and with their but wait. But why do people think that? There's a reason. I don't think everybody's just mass deluded that they think that. And granted, one problem here, I mentioned that DC is not doing press by it. By contrast, if you go over to Bleeding Cool or CBR, they are almost exclusively covering the Jace Fox Batman and the diverse stuff. They are not, it's almost in direct contrast to what DC's doing. Is the news sites that are not attached to the main companies are definitely pushing that title, that content over others. Again, if you were reading just those sites, if you're reading Bleeding Cool, if you're reading CBR, you would come away with the impression, certainly, that Jace Fox was taking over and was the primary Batman. That was the most important thing, and Bruce Wayne Batman's pushing backward. You would probably have that impression. So maybe that's what's going on. But in general, I look at the DC list, and my immediate takeaway is, Christ, there's too much Batman. There's just way too much Batman. It's kind of scary how much they're orienting around that. But the diverse, the future state, 5G, all that other kind of stuff, it's sprinkled in here, but barely. I mean, again, somebody else commented like, look, the old Mr. Miracle is gone and they've got this new Mr. Miracle, this black Mr. Miracle. But there wasn't an old Mr. Miracle. There was not a Mr. Miracle title floating around. There hasn't been for forever. So you know, I mean, I, I don't know. It's an interesting picture when you actually look at the numbers. The thing that I pull out of it is, good God, 66 books. Oh my God, 40% of them are Batman related. That's my takeaway. And for some, the takeaway is the woke apocalypse is taking over DC. Why? It's there. I mean, there are certainly titles that are trying to push a more diverse cast and everything else. But when I look at this, I just go, do they have any ideas other than Batman? Sorry, that's my takeaway. But what about you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is a weird one. Again, I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm not trying to say, you're wrong for thinking the way you're thinking. But I'm trying to figure out why you're thinking the way you're thinking. Because when you look at this list, it paints a picture that to me is worrisome. But it's not the worrisome that people seem to be worried about. Does that make any sense? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.